Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the iRunOnBeer Friday 5. For today's episode, I figured I'd talk about something that runners take pretty seriously in the racing world and in the training world, and I'm no different, and that is the runner's playlist. So, I'm not one who usually listens to music when I'm training for races. I'm more of a podcast audiobook kind of guy, but come race day, I take my playlist very seriously, and I will spend about a week curating what I consider to be the perfect playlist for whatever race I'm training for. So, my playlist changes depending on what race I'm running, distance, etc. But there are a few staple songs that always find their way in there, and that's what I figured I'd talk about in today's Friday 5. So first up, we have a little bit of a superstitious song choice, and this dates back to my first ever competitive run in college. I was into a pretty electronic phase of my music preferences at that point in time, and so I had this song Louder by DJ Fresh as the first song on my running playlist, specifically the Flux Pavilion Dr. P remix. And since that day, I have not been able to bring myself to remove that song from my playlist. Call it superstition, tradition, whatever you will, but that's always the number one song on my playlist, starting seconds before the gun goes off. That's my starting line pump-up jam, gets me in the mood for the race for the day. Song number 2 that we're going to talk about is what I like to call my guilty pleasure song. So the way that I organize my running playlists, I start out with kind of lighthearted, fun, relaxing music that just helps kind of keep me in the zone for the first half of the race. Then there's a transition period that I'll talk about with song number 3, and then after that transition period for the second half of the race, we get much more into the angry rap, loud metal, more hardcore, dig deep music that I need to really find the strength to finish the race strong. But we're still in that early stage now, and so my guilty pleasure song may come as a surprise, but I am a huge Katy Perry fan. There's usually at least 2 or 3 songs that find their way into my race playlist depending on the length of the race. Firework is definitely my favorite, but there are just so many options to choose from. You got Teenage Dream, I Kissed a Girl, Dark Horse, Waking Up in Vegas, E.T., Roar, the list goes on and on. You can't go wrong with Katy Perry. Like I said, Firework is definitely my favorite that is almost always on the playlist, but there's usually a few more songs that find their way in there as well. Then we ease into that transition point I talked about with song number 3. So this is that time when I'm transitioning from the easy fun music to more of that angrier music that I need to motivate me for the second half of the race. And to mark the transition point in the race, that halfway point, the song that I go with is Scotland the Brave by the Black Watch. So a lot of you again are probably thinking, what the hell is Scotland the Brave and who are the Black Watch? And if you're not familiar, the Black Watch is actually the bagpipe brigade of the Scottish military. Very famous pipes and drums band. Some of you might be saying, what's a pipes and drums band? You've probably seen them on course. Anytime you see bagpipes, they're usually accompanied by a set of drums as well. And I just find that to be the perfect motivator, especially around the midway point. It really rejuvenates me, reinvigorates my stride, and kind of helps me find the motivation that I need to continue and just starts the second half of the race off on a strong point. So finally, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, okay, I've been relying on race directors and race courses to have a bagpipe band on course and just hoping that there'll be one somewhere to motivate me. Why not just put the music into my playlist? So that's what I decided to do, and now every race around the halfway point I try to time it out so that song comes on as soon as I hear the drum starts and the bagpipes kick in. Like I said, it really just remotivates me and helps me find the energy I need to kind of internalize my feelings and start the second half of the race off strong to get ready for that last push. Song number 4, so this is getting into that angrier phase that I talked about. And this one comes probably as no shock. It's a popular song on many runners' playlists, and that's Till I Collapse by Eminem. Eminem, similar to Katy Perry, is an artist that I'll have at least 2 or 3 songs on every one of my running playlists. I grew up listening to Eminem. My dad used to play him in the car when we were driving to like 5th and 6th grade. Probably not the best recommendation parenting-wise, but I've just always loved Eminem. Until I Collapse is a classic among runners. Like I said, it just helps you when you're in that dig deep moment. You need to remember that even though it hurts, even if the race is tough, you have the energy you need to get across that finish line. So I'll always have that song come on sometime in the second half of the race, probably early on, just to remind myself, hey, you got this, dig deep, find the energy you need. You can make it across that finish line. So Till I Collapse is always on there, and then usually 2 or 3 other songs by Eminem depending on what kind of mood I'm in, what kind of music I'm looking for at the time. All right, the final song on my running playlist, which is always the last song on my race day playlist, probably another surprise, but that's I'd Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf. And now again, you're probably thinking, wait, you were just talking about angry music or loud music, and this is really neither. Although it does get a little bit loud. Classic power ballad by Meatloaf. But the reason that I choose this song, and I probably should specify that it's the full like 11.5 minute version of the song that I choose, is because I time that song with whatever my goal time is for the race. It's an 11-minute song, so I time that song on the playlist to start 11 minutes before I need to cross the finish line in order to hit my goal. That way I know when I hear that piano come in at the beginning of the song, all right, I've got 11 minutes to get across that finish line. That song takes you through so many emotions. As you probably know, when you're running hard at the end of the race, you're going to go through a range of emotions, and that song just perfectly represents the roller coaster that is that final push in a race. So 11 minutes is a little bit long, but the music, the song just has so many variables, so many different parts to it that it's the perfect thing to accompany you on that last journey. If I'm having a really good day, sometimes I only have to listen to a few minutes of that song before I hit the finish line. But even if I have that full 11 minutes and I'm struggling, I know Meatloaf's there to carry me across the finish line. So there you have it. Those are my 5 top running songs that always find their way into my race day playlist. Usually I'll stack those songs in first and then just sort of fill out the rest of the playlist as I go along, depending on what I'm looking for on race day. So I'd love to hear from y'all in the comments. What are some of your favorite running songs? What are those songs that A, really motivate you, give you that final push that you need at the end of a race, but also what are those maybe surprising songs that people might not think would be motivational but might mean something specific to you? So if you've got them, like I said, type them out in the comments below. If you like the video, please give me the thumbs up, and if you don't subscribe to the channel, please do so that you always make sure you can tune in for future episodes in the coming weeks. That's everything that I had for you today, so thanks for tuning in, and until next time, cheers. Coffee because it's early.